The lights are off and away they go.
Extremely loose. He's managed to hold on and they get
He missed the complete that. He's crazy stuff.
Outside Freitas is on the grass on the infield for 4. He slides through. He tags Richard Eck.
Across the English Channel and about 2 hours to the south, you'll find a French city that once a year is filled to the brim with race fans from all over the world. But in the virtual world, Le Mans doesn't have to wait for once a year to hear the roar of both fans and engines. Today, you'll get to enjoy the French fervor for motorsports once again as we get ready to watch round 1 of the Lotus 49 Golden Anniversary World Cup. And you'll see it all live here on the Global SimRacing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Sean Ambrose. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. Sean, it's a long track with a lot to go over, but tell us about the many miles of Le Mans.
Boy, what a great way to start the day here in Le Mans. Circuit de la Sarthe. You know, it consists of both permanent track and public roads that are temporarily closed for this race here every year. You know, since 1923. This track has been modified extensively over the years, mostly for safety reasons. Today we run without the chicanes down the famous Mousseline Straight. You see those chicanes in there. We won't be running that today, and it is flat out excitement down that backstretch. Now, you've got to travel down this track at 8.47 miles. Yeah, that's right, 13.63 kilometers, 31 turns today. We'll run 10 laps here. It'll be 10 pretty flat-out laps, to be really honest with you. But the best way to take a look at that is for a quick ride around on the GSRC Lotus 49.
All right, we're in the GSRC Lotus 49, so let's do a lap around Le Mans. On the front stretch, you'll get a fair bit of momentum going, which means the Dunlop curve won't be flat out. Especially with the 49's lack of grip, you got to try your best to tuck the car over to the right side of the track, which means you might get surprised by drivers sending a sneak attack up the inside into the Dunlop chicane. The tough thing for them will be getting the car both turned in and gunned off the corner quickly. You might be able to get them back accelerating under the Dunlop bridge. But the Chapel Rundown is also not able to be taken flat out, so watch your line. In the Forest S's, it's important to try to keep the car tight to the apex. And then, coming off the right-hander, be careful with the gas as there's a big crest ready to send the car looping. Then, it's a short squirt on the power before one of the most important corners of the track. The exit of Tertre Rouge can make or break your lap time. Being confident with your right foot will be critical. The very tricky Mulsanne corner will catch many drivers out with its kinked braking zone. It'll certainly be a balancing act. Not just the car itself, but how much time you can gain braking deeper versus being planted for a good run off the corner. Because once again, we've got a long stretch where every bit of speed counts. Now, in most cars, Golf Corner and No Name Corner mean nothing, but with the 49 bouncing its way along with almost no downforce, they become very tricky. You've got to straighten them out as much as possible and try to avoid going through too wide. Then, you've got to set up for Indianapolis, which once again provides an incredible challenge with its kinked entry. Make sure you're able to hold to the right so that you can take as much advantage as possible from the banking on the left-hander. From there, you'll need to switch sides quickly for the best line into Arnage. This is one of the slowest corners on the track, and the wall of the outside provides little room for error as you accelerate. From out of there, the run to the Porsche curves is similar to the run up to Indianapolis. The kinks would be no problem in other vehicles, but in the 49, they're pretty hairy. Especially the braking for the Porsche corner. If you stay flat out, the car likes to jump out from under you. As you woe it up, the important thing here is to set up for each subsequent corner. The bridge curves are probably the most dangerous with that big blue wall ready to punish the greedy. Into the karting S's, things really begin to slow down even more. At this point, it's extremely important to stay tucked to the inside because you can get a slowdown penalty for going wide at the left-hander. Once again, Maison Blanche is no problem for modern cars, but requires a lift in the Lotus. Then comes the Ford chicane, in which the first left-right is surprisingly rapid. Just try not to get greedy because you need the car to be stable to slow up for the second half. The curbs are much taller here, but you can get pretty aggressive with them. Just make sure you can get to the power smoothly for the front stretch. And as you cross the line, you've now finished a lap around Le Mans. You can see, even without the chicanes, we needed a truncated lap around here, as these cars will take a fair bit of time to make a lap around, which they are doing right now for qualifying. But as we wait for some times to get on the board, Sean, it's the first race of a new season. We don't have any points up yet. So why don't you tell our viewers a little bit how the points are going to work here today?
Sure, Joe. Be happy to do that. Now we will be running the 1967 points arrangement, a little classic touch to this series. It pays 9 points to win these events, and they only pay back to 6th place. So you really got to run hard. You've got to be patient, and most importantly, you got to keep the car in the gray, and that certainly will be a challenge here at Le Sarthe today. So, Joe, I think we have the points from last season. If we want to take a look at those real quick and see where everybody wound up, we can go through that real quick. And the Drivers' Championship there, you see Michel Dudignan, the French driver, they're finishing in first, 50 points. Benjamin Zocco gave it a good run, came up a little bit short, though. A little bit shorter was Billy Bob Wright there in third. Just 3 points separated him and Zocco. Mick Claridge had a little bit of bad luck here and there. Certainly one of the fastest cars in the field every week, even with the weight ballast penalty he was taking. Jack Olstad rounds out your top 5. Speaking of ballast, the ballast boys are retired for this season, Joe, and nobody will be running with that weight penalty. It's all out. Everybody in for themselves.
Well, that'll be interesting to see how that works. And of course, there's the Constructors' Championship that they did last season, worked just like it did back in '67, where instead of the teams, it was by nation. And you can see United States managed to come out on top. Of course, that was helped a little bit by the ballast, but it certainly kept the championship fight very tight throughout. Australian lost that at the very last stage, 7 points behind. And then France, mostly buoyed up by the likes of Michel Dudignan, managed to get themselves up into third despite starting late in the season for Michel. Now, the interesting thing about these points, Sean, that I found about last season is even though it only goes down to 6th place, we had 20 drivers score points over the course of this season. I think that's a testament to the variety of talent outside of those top 3 that tend to vie for the wins.
It certainly proved to me that there were more people out there than I honestly thought that had great command of this Lotus 49. 20 drivers scoring points in what is, quite frankly, one of the more competitive series that we get to broadcast. There's some really stout drivers in this class. Michel Dudignan back to wreak a little havoc again this season. I will be interested to see how much some of the other drivers have upped their game now that, like I said, we've gotten rid of the ballast on some of the faster guys. We'll see if that's going to make a big difference in these races. I don't think it will, though. I think the field top to bottom is certainly a pretty remarkable one, as we've got qualifying going right now. Actually getting ready to wrap that up.
Indeed, we've already got the first laps on the board, and not many surprises up at the top. Dudignan leading Mick Claridge with Snelson following in third, although a ways back, almost 2 seconds behind 2nd place for Snelson. Such is the pace for Dudignan and Claridge. I do want to make a quick mention. We talked about Billy Bob Wright there being high up in the championship. He does live in Florida, and those of you in the U.S. are aware of the hurricanes that have been happening in the south. Unfortunately, we do not see Billy Bob Wright in the session right now. We're not sure exactly how he is faring, so our thoughts are going out to him and his family and hoping for the best for him. Speaking of the hurricanes, we actually have a charity race here on the Global Sim Racing channel, helping raise funds to deal with the damage. They're going to the Salvation Army here at the Pacific Majors, putting that on later this afternoon, so please tune in to that MX5 race here on the Global Sim Racing channel. It's going to be at Sebring, and I'll get that time for you here in a second. But right now, Michael Morrison is going to cross the line. I believe he's going to be the first one to come across to take his 2nd lap. Let's see if he can improve that 7th position. And he does. Gets himself up into 5th.
Yeah,
Brett Real
nice.
Crosses. Dudignan, let's see if he can improve. And he does. Gets it down to a 3:27.
Knocked about a second off there. Nice run for Dudignan. McClarridge now coming through.
He's in second. He's nearly a second back from Michel Dudignon as he comes across the line. That 328. He does knock it down, but not enough to topple Dudignon. He is less than a tenth behind him. Things are ever so close, and he gets it just in. Let's go through the grid. Michel Dudignon is... we're going to get the flyover, excuse me. So let's let the... planes go by real quick so that we don't get drowned out on the broadcast. So we wait for that tricolor smoke to fill the air, and there it is. Down the front stretch, as is tradition here at Le Mans. And with that, let's try and hustle through the order here. Michel Dudignon is going to be on the pole with Mick Claridge on the outside of the front row. Bruce Nelson will start in third with Brett Rial in fourth and AJ Bear starting fifth. Michael Morrison will be in sixth today, followed by Langford in seventh. Gary Teal, a familiar name in this series, coming back to race in eighth. Hideki Koivisto starting ninth, and rounding out the top 10, Sean, will be Joachim Bruckner.
Okay, and 11th is going to be Andrew Ng. 12th going to go to Craig Spitzer. Ove Tringrade is back, 13th for him. Thomas Prozus will start 14th. Don, tell me something good, 15th. Franziska Shu will start 16th. Marcelo Aiello will start 17th. And Ivan Dojo will start 18th, Joe.
Now, am I mistaken? I'm seeing some red on Mick Claridge. Has he switched his colors to Ferrari? We'll have to get a closer look on that after they start as the lights are up. Waiting for the green. Green flag is out. Off the line they go. And everybody up front put in a pretty equal start, although a bit of a bad one for Bruce Nelson, already under attack from Brett Rial. But as they veer off to the right, it's going to switch back to the left for that first chicane. So I believe Snelson should be safe unless he's horrible on the brakes. A little bit of a peek in from Rial, but he can't make it work as everybody starts to get single file. A little bit of side-by-side action in the back, but no incidents as they come into the Forest S's.
Yeah, and you're still trying to get heat in the tires here. You really got to be a little careful here through the Forest S's as you get started.
Little tricky in these cars getting to the power. Now the draft should keep them very close together here on this long backstretch without these chicanes. Could even allow drivers to pass someone with the draft and then pass them back, Sean.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of speed here in the draft. You can come from as far back as about a second and a half, and you'll find the toe. Mick Claridge finding the toe now, getting around Michel Dudignon, heading down the Mousselon straight. Dudignon certain to probably take that back before they get to the Mousselon hairpin there.
And you can see
I said Mousselon.
Yeah, it's okay. You can see Dudignon getting him back right away. And I don't think they'd even gotten to the kink yet. Yeah, they're still ready to hit that fast bit, and that's going to be tough going too wide, but it looks like he's going to lift and let him through. The cars behind all pretty much getting single file. Out in no man's land, Bruce Nelson pretty much by himself, but as they come to the braking for Mulsanne corner, it's going to be Dudignon who's in the lead. Very tricky with that little kink, with long braking in these machines as they all come together. So your order for the top five: Dudignon, Claridge, Snelson, Bear, and Teal.
Boy, a couple cars getting collected in the dirt there in the Mulsanne hairpin. That's kind of a collection point. You carry way too much speed in through there. You don't brake soon enough, you'll wind up in the sand.
Franziska Shu being one of those that went off. But thankfully they do have that runoff out there to keep you from hitting the wall too hard unless you really miss your braking point. And that sent Franz back to the back. And Mick Claridge, what happened to him? From second place, he's slipping down the order.
He had contact with Snelson, and that was in Indianapolis, Joe.
And it looks like Don Good may have been involved. He is off into the barrier. He came upon the cars into one another.
Well, Snelson picked up heavy damage on that. In fact, he had to tow around.
Caught a glance of the replay there of that incident. Not a good start. Looks like Snelson just outbraked himself, got into the side of Mick Claridge. It is oh so tough breaking into that corner in these machines.
Boy, there was another incident we missed. Craig Spitzer had big trouble, and that's what actually got Don good slow, because Don got into him. That was out of Indianapolis. They got through and then down that short straight. Big trouble.
Yeah, it looks like up into Arnage, but we've come back live, so looks like we'll be able to get back to that replay as we look at Langford sitting in 4th. The New Zealander very much under threat from Mick Claridge, who's tried to recover at this point. Looks like that damage hasn't hurt him too much behind them. A big move up the inside from the violet car of Michael Morrison. Oh! And he gets tagged by Joachim Bruckner, comes flying through the dirt.
Wow. Yeah, well, obviously Bruckner just misses the whole chicane there, the whole Dunlop chicane. We're following it now here on the replay on board with Bruckner. Yeah, he gets off into the sand and just flies it in there.
Just tags him. I'm not sure how much damage this is going to cause for either of them. Both able to continue as we come back live. My goodness.
I know Bruckner, he's off pace right now, Joe. He did suffer some front-end damage. I can't imagine what it might have done to the suspension, but he's taking it easy right now down the Mulsanne straight.
I'm trying to find the other driver that did get run into. Figure out what happened to him, because I don't see him in that front group after that, so he must have taken some damage. Meanwhile, we're watching Trangrade and Koivisto fighting for 7th position.
Yeah, and Trangrade had just gotten around Koivisto pretty much on the start of the Mulsanne straight there, and looks like right now Koivisto happy to just follow.
Now, it was Morrison who did take that damage, and he has slipped down to 9th in his machine. So, unfortunately, that did hurt him, and he's going very slow. He's holding off to the side.
He has a passenger.
Oh my goodness!
Joe. Yes.
Michael Morrison. I'm not sure if that came from the incident, though. That probably came from a little bit through the Forest S's. That was slowing him, and who do we see just sliding off there? That was Gary Teal. A number of drivers having some problems early on. He's able to continue. He's under threat from Mick Claridge to the inside, trying to get the power down, coming out of Arnage, but carrying the momentum and finding the grip. Gary Teal's able to hold him off for that podium spot. They'll be able to fend him back as they come up to the Porsche curves, pretty much single file into here.
And Joe, I have confirmed that Mick is in, of course, a Ferrari, sporting the famous Ferrari red and yellow.
These drivers do like to run a bit of a retro liveries, as many of the retro cars and series drivers do. Although there's no official thing for it here, as Gary Teal slips wide. But once again, Claridge not able to capitalize as it weaves back and forth. And now comes up to the Ford chicane. Maison Blanche very much single file through these cars. In fact, not even flat out in these cars.
Trangrade back here taking advantage of Brett Reale, trying to anyway. Took a look at him coming across the start-finish line and then backs off.
Was not able to. We have two cars in the pits right now. Not sure if they are DNF. They might try to get back out. That's Bruce Nelson and Craig Spitzer that are still sitting in their cars, so I assume they are getting repairs and intend to get back out.
Morrison limped it all the way around, and he is in the pit.
Sad to see. Now, we mentioned, as you can see, the damage on the front of that car, that they run a few retro liveries, and you might be wondering about that pink-looking car. That is actually a retro livery, Sean. That is the colors of Egypt. traditional racing colors of that car.
Yeah, and good to see that car back this season. That was an interesting story from last season about the history of that paint job. So certainly glad to see it back.
Those colors actually did run once. I believe it was in the French Grand Prix one year. Meanwhile, we're watching Mick Claridge finally getting to overtake Gary Thiel on the Mulsanne straight once again, but Gary holding by his side now. He lifts and slots in the line behind him. Behind them, car very much catching up, is the Kiwi of Michael Langford, closing in at a rate of knots. They come from a long ways back there, over 200 miles an hour down this straight.
They approach 220. Think about that, 220.
And a car with nearly no downforce on it to hold it to the road.
If it had wings, it would fly.
You can see just how they all closed up behind them. Brett Rial and Tranqueray got within touching distance into the braking, but once again they stretch apart as they head towards Indianapolis. Mick Claridge got a good jump off the corner. If he can get through the Porsche curves a little bit later in the lap, he could maybe stretch away from Thiel.
While you're watching that battle up there, I am watching this battle that continues between Reale and Ove Trengrade. It's a good one. They're just at the back of all this, and we've got a great little 5-car battle going on here with Langford caught in the middle of it all.
Trangrade still running those Honda colors on that car. Honestly, one of my favorite schemes from '67. That rising sun emblazoned on the front of that machine. So now they hit the Porsche curves. He's not able to do anything with Rial. This being one of the more dangerous curves through Bridge with that blue wall to the outside, making it very tight. You can see, as nobody's able to do anything, Claridge stretching away, continuing to widen that gap. Gary Thiel, though, running a great race, sitting in 4th. Next on his list is another Ferrari, Michael Langford, who's eyeing and sizing him up as they come down into the Ford chicane, back to the front stretch. And just look at them accordion together through here.
It certainly does look like an accordion. They are having some kind of battle. Hideki Koivisto just doesn't seem to be able to gain anything on him. He sits back here in 8th place, but just can't close the gap, just under 2 seconds back.
Oh, and something's happened to Ivan Dojo.
Yeah, Joe, it looks like, his turn in there, he missed it coming down into the, I think that was into the Porsche S curves there.
Well, I think that was the Ford chicane, actually.
That was the Ford chicane. I'm sorry about that.
He gets it going. He doesn't hit anything. This is one of the few cars I've found, Sean, that you can somehow find the wall, and I think that's only just because the momentum is going so fast and heavy in this car. As you can see, they've hit the Mulsanne straight once again. Langford behind Thiel, but behind them with an even bigger head of steam, Brett Rial goes to the inside, slingshots past them both. Trangrade is going to follow him through. Not missing anything up front. Dudignon leads by 10 seconds. Bear leads by 1. He's going to be caught soon, so we might go up to that battle. But 3 wide as they come up to the Mulsanne kink. Oh, this is not going to work out if they try to hold this. Someone's going to have to give way. Looks like Trangrade is going to be the first to lift. Now it's just Rial and Thiel, and Thiel comes out the worst of it. As he falls back, Trangrade looks to the inside. Going to try and outbrake him down into the Mulsanne corner. Not brave enough, though.
Joe, I'm keeping an eye on a battle here at the back. In 12th, it's Frank Shu being followed by Don Good. They're trading places right now.
They are coming up to the Mulsanne kink. Fly through there, single file. Oh, much better run by Good, though. Must have been a lift from Franziska Shu. But now he's better on the brakes. Working to the outside, coming down into the Mulsanne corner. A little bit of a peek from Don Good. He's given the apex by Shu and lets him through. Let's jump up to Claridge, who's caught up to... Oh, wow, big incident there. That's
Boy,
Langford.
That almost got Real turned over.
And Gary Teal, I believe that was.
Boy, but Langford really missed the braking there.
Oh no, that was Brett Real.
Yeah. You're going to see Langford come flying down here on board with Brett Real. Now he's going to get tagged.
Watching on board the Pennsylvania driver.
You'll see the red car come in the picture.
Oh, and apparently AJ Bear had a problem. Let's see. Did Mick get into him here? Or just side-by-side action through the Porsche curves.
Yeah,
that was for second place. Wow, what a catch there. That slide there from AJ
boy.
Bear. He actually has another as we come back live.
He seems sliding it, kind of dirt tracking it through the turn there. Loses a little bit more ground to Claridge.
A valiant effort to hold him off, going side by side through the Porsche curves is no mean feat. Bear knew that he had a bit of a gap back to Trangarade and unfortunately was not able to fend him off, but he's going to have a bit of a draft down the backstretch. He's within 2 seconds, which is about the gap that you need. He's about 1.2 currently, so I expect him to reel him in. Sean, I'm not too surprised to see a lot of cars get into one another. The braking distances are so long in this car, and the speeds are so high around this track.
Yeah, boy, if you miss your mark by just as much as 10 feet, Joe, it can mean the difference of making that turn or not making it, and it's a real fine balance, especially here, like you said, when you're carrying so much speed. This car not easy to stop, and you've really got to be you've really got to hit your marks. It's never been more important than it is in a Lotus 49.
You could see the distance that AJ Bear cut down as he moves back into second. Looking to the inside, they're going to go side by side into the break into the Mulsanne corner. Very tough. And you can see just a little bit of trepidation from Bear, but he manages to hold the apex. Can't get the power down off the corner though. Loses out to Claridge.
Gary Teal back here really trying to hold off Hideki Koivisto. Koivisto took a run at him there in the Mulsanne hairpins. Man, I am just all over the place this morning.
That's okay.
I got up too early.
I think we all did, but Koivisto looks like he's on his game. He snatched a few points last season. He might snatch a point here today at Le Mans as he's sitting in a 6th.
He's got a pretty good cushion now because Reality's almost 9 seconds back.
Yeah, and he is just hassling Gary Teal for that 5th spot. Teal used to be very much a regular. We haven't really seen him on the broadcast races much, but glad to see him back in the Lotus 49. I've raced against him many a time in this car.
And I don't recall seeing him last season at all in any of the races, to be honest with you, Joe. Certainly a new driver to me. Last season was my first season on board, but certainly has great pace and a cool-looking car.
I was just looking at that paint scheme. I don't think Wonder Bread was a sponsor back in '67, but certainly an eye-catching one there with those spots all over that Lotus 49. But now he's stretched away from Koivisto a little bit, put himself out of threat. Same thing with Claridge on Bear, and Gary Teal has a mistake coming into the forward chicane, and that is going to hand it over to Koivisto.
Boy, commentator's jinx hit him.
Certainly did. That's the second time that we've seen a driver spin it around into that first part. Wonder if maybe he'd shift down too quickly and just made the rear unstable. I know I've done that a ton of times in this car, Sean.
It's not hard to do. If you get down through that gearbox too quickly, it will spin the car. I honestly was having trouble with that, getting down into the Mulsanne hairpin. That's a tough braking zone down through there, and when you're coming down through that gearbox, it will spin on you if you're too abrupt.
Looking at our leader, he does deserve some screen time for the dominant performance he's putting on today. Without that ballast and with Mick Claridge making an early mistake, you can see a 14, nearly 15-second gap between Dudagnon and Claridge, who still got Bear holding on within a second.
Does it help that Dudagnon's French? Just curious.
Gives it an extra tenth or two, I'm sure.
Right. That's worth a tenth or two in speed, exactly.
Dudagnon was happy last year when they finally added this track and gave him a home race here on iRacing.
Boy, Claridge really trying to break the draft. He's all over the place. AJ Bear really still holding good form, though, back there. Closing right up on him here in the hairpin.
So we ride on board with Bear. The Australian trying to see if he can just position himself just right to make an attempt on the final lap, but he barely caught him at the end of the straight. He is going to have to hustle and try and gain ground in some of the faster portions. Oh, he took a peek down into Indianapolis, but that is not a too wide situation. He holds back.
Really, Joe? He barely caught him? Just barely?
I swear that one was unintentional.
Ove Trengrade stuck back here watching. Trengrade sliding it through there. I'll stop talking about you now, Ove.
You think he's pushing it all?
Maybe just a bit.
He sees them. He's got sights on him, and we know in racing that really lights the fire under a driver, so he wants to get up there. And he knows that he's going to lose ground on these two through these S's.
Oh, big trouble for Langford coming out of... coming out of Arnage. Langford loses it. I was just about to talk about this three-car battle they were having. Big mistake there out of Michael Langford.
And you're going to see here on the replay something that you don't have in a lot of cars here on iRacing. With the 49 definitely one of them. You get on that power too soon, it will come out from under you.
He didn't wreck the car, but man, he lost 4 spots there.
Oh, so difficult in the lower gears, even in the tall gearing of a place like this, to get the power down. And you can see he's slipped down to the top 10.
It was a 3-car battle between him, Reale, and Andrew Ng. And now Reale is able to pull away from Ng. That really split that battle up.
Yeah, in fact, Ng has to worry about Gary Teal, who's also got Joachim Brucker behind him, seeing if he can do anything. And Sean, no Frau Bruckner jokes.
I'm going to stay away from those. I've been thinking about that since the race started, and you had to throw it in there, Joe.
We had to lampshade it at some point, but I wanted to stop him before we embarrassed Joachim at all. I'm sure he's heard him all the time.
I wish I had that soundbite.
We watch Gary Teal do what he can to try and close the gap to Ng. Things split apart a little bit throughout the field. AJ Bear has hit the backstretch once again. The Mulsanne straight offering that draft and closing in once again. This has got to be heartening for Claridge if he holds him off once more, because he knows if he can just keep this distance of a gap each time, then he won't be under threat.
Yeah, but AJ really getting a run at him here, Joe. Look at this. Look at the power of that Lotus 49
he is
coming around
this time. Wow. So, not heartening for Mick Claridge, who does lose that second place. Ove Trangrade gets up to them as well, but it's going to switch back as it's a long run down to Indianapolis, and you can see Mick Claridge doesn't even need the draft. He gets just a better launch, period, out of the Mulsanne corner. AJ Bear slips back to third.
A couple of lumberjacks on a saw there, just back and forth, back and forth, back and forth.
This is helping Ove Trangrade close in down into the braking for Indianapolis. Let's see if he can get himself a launch off Arnage and use the draft up to the Porsche curves. All of them nice and tidy out of that 90-degree right-hander. Trangrade without that ballast this year. I bet he's enjoying that. Now they've come and brake for the Porsche curves. Slotting in back and forth, getting into a rhythm. Keeping the wheels just off that bridge wall. As things tighten and slow. Coming up to karting. Very tough not to swing wide out of here. All of them managing to avoid the slowdown penalty through Maison Blanche. And you can see the difference as it opens up a little bit between themselves and Claridge.
Up front, Michel Dudignon actually going to have some traffic to get through here. Coming up on Marcelo Aiello. Just got over the Dunlop curve, getting around on the inside.
Absolutely, and 3 laps to go left. Dudignon pretty much all on a race of his own. All he has to worry about is keeping away the mistakes and whether or not the lap traffic could cause him any problems. But he's got plenty of time to stay patient. And unfortunately, another driver falling victim under braking into the Ford chicane.
Plenty of runoff there, able to get it turned around.
The Eagle Westlake painted car lost it in the second half, it looks like. As you said, able to get it going once more, but that moves him down to 10th. A number of mistakes seen here today, shuffling up the order.
Okay, Trangrade here with trying to make the move on AJ Bear. Side by side down the Mulsanne.
This is exactly what Bear does not want. He wants to be fighting with Mick Claridge. Those two have fallen well back. Trangrade nearly 2 seconds rather behind Mick Claridge, and they're running out of straightaway. This could be Claridge's chance.
Just that little bit of side-by-side fighting looks like it made all the difference there, Joe. Trangrade, boy, here comes Bear again.
They hit the braking down into Mulsanne. They close the gap a little bit, down to about a second. They're going to get another bite of the apple. They've got to hurry. If they lose too much ground on Claridge, that could be all she wrote.
Claridge had a great exit there, Joe. I mean, a really, really great exit.
He's extended it back to 1.1. AJ's got his eyes in the mirrors instead of up ahead, looking at Trangrade. And thankfully, once they hit Indianapolis, Trangrade does not force the issue. A little bit wide there from AJ Bear, trying to use every inch of track that he can. Ooh, what a slide from Ove Trangrade. Also managing to keep the car pointed forward. Both drivers just hustling everything they can out of these machines. Once they hit the Porsche curves, the gap up to about 1.3 behind Mick Claridge. Claridge may not be able to run down Dudignon, but he's trying to limit the damage, hold on to this second place, trying to just pull away all he can from these two to keep him from being sniped at the line. Bear getting a little bit wide coming out of karting. This is going to give an opportunity to Trangarade. Does not take it, though. Bruckner seems to have had a problem.
Big shunt for Joachim Bruckner. Man, he gets into the inside retaining wall and hits it hard.
Oof. The DH driver, unfortunately, goes for a big spin once he clips that wall, and as you said, took a toe, so it looks like his race is indeed over. Remember, we mentioned Bruce Nelson being one of the drivers that had to take repairs. He did come back out. He is unfortunately 2 laps down and in 16th.
Yeah, and Bruckner will have a long toe in, and I'm sure a lot of damage repair won't be able to get back out with just under a couple laps left here.
Coming back onto the Mulsanne straight, AJ Bear is 2.2 seconds behind Mick Claridge. Just on the cusp of grabbing that draft, but he still has to worry about the Scandinavian of Ove Trangarade.
Ove not giving up the hunt here.
Slingshots past. They could work together. They could maybe try and use this extra speed to try and close him down. And interestingly, Bear lifted a little bit, and he's making no attempt to try and slingshot back by again. That gap is extended up to 2.4 behind Mick Claridge. Unless we see a mistake from the Brit, I'm starting to think this is going to be all she wrote. And it looks like Claridge was helped a little bit because Marcelo Aiello was lap traffic that gave him a little bit of a slipstream. You can see the number 17 there on screen.
Marcelo spent some time in the pits, about 9 minutes actually, back in this race.
He's being caught right at Indianapolis. This might be a bad spot unless he can pull over and let these guys through. And unfortunately, they're not going to get a chance before Arnage. There he goes. Beautiful job. Nicely done by Marcelo to just take the outside line and let the cars stream on by.
This final podium spot belongs to either one of these drivers. I can't call it. It's with 1 lap to go when we come by here, Joe. It's probably going to come down to the last chicane. Probably going to come down to Ford.
I do not doubt that. Now up at the front, Michel Dudignon is taking the white flag. 1 more to go for the Frenchman. Unchallenged, now 20 seconds ahead of Claridge. The real battle on track right now is for 3rd. We've been watching it. Oh, big mistake, though, from AJ Bear through the first part of the Ford chicane. That could cost him. It opens the gap between himself and Trangarade.
Yeah, what was about a half a second immediately goes to a second. Wrong time for Bear to make a mistake. He's going to need to make it up on the Mulsanne.
And I think he's going to be able to. And boy, Trangarade is just wrangling that car around every corner. Looking all out of sorts as he comes through the Forest S's. Hard to get the power down out of here, up and over that crest. But he's clean. And this is where it counts, coming out of Tertre Rouge onto the Mulsanne straight. He's extended up to 1.3 seconds. They're 2.2 behind Claridge. He is well safe at this point. We'll skip over to Dudignon, to our leader, as he comes to the line, but right now we want to watch the fight for 3rd place. Bear closing in The huge hole in the air being punched by Ove Trangarade, giving him that extra speed.
Ove was changing lines there, trying to maybe break the draft a little bit. I think I think AJ's going to run out of track here. Maybe not. He's going to hit him at the kink.
Just the wrong timing, but he's still up with him. A defensive move from Trangarade, going to the inside. As they come up to the braking, Trangarade looking a little bit stronger. Could we see an over-under, though, for AJ Bear, or around the outside even? Trying to pull a powerhouse move, but it does not pay off. He's going to get it one more time. He's in that slipstream. Coming up through the golf course kink. Oh, and was there a missed shift? What happened there?
Ooh.
Was that intentional?
I don't know, Joe. Irregardless, AJ Bear gets around. Ove, maybe Ove wanted the last chance at him. Like I said, it could come down to the Ford chicane. Ove off to the side.
Staying right with him. 2 wheels into the kitty litter, but able to continue on. Not going to get many more opportunities. I've got half an eye on Dudignon. And we've got to go to Michel now. As he comes out of Maison Blanche up to the Ford chicane. The left and the right. And one more to go. Tighter and slower as he accelerates cleanly to the line. Dudignon is going to win the first round here today in the Lotus 49.
Back to Bear and Koivisto. They're drifting through the turns side by side.
Trangarade and Bear looking to the inside. Trangarade making a last gasp. He's given a little bit of room, but AJ Bear looks like he's going to have it. Oh, but he's trying to collect the car. Same thing with Ove Trangarade. Sliding across the line. Bear is going to get the last podium spot.
Joe,
did take second. Go ahead.
All the way from the Porsche S curves, all the way to Ford, they were drifting it through the turns like that in unison. It was a sight to watch.
Neither one wanted to give any ground. Koivisto, how about this? Not just 6th place, but 5th place. Going to take 2 points home, does the Finn.
And Brett Real going to get that final spot there, Joe, for the points in 6th. Gary Teal comes up just short there in 7th.
Something to aim for on his return, but not a bad showing. Michael Langford going to take home this 8th spot. He and Teal swapped positions since the start. Ang comes home in 9th. Don Good taking home a top 10 here as he's coming up to the line as well. Morrison a little bit disappointed probably, having started 6th. Unfortunately, the Egyptian Mobile, the best he's going to be able to do today is 11th. Number of cars on the lead lap, with this being such a long lap around here. Thomas Pruzos is going to be the last one to come to the line. So with that, we are going to go to a quick break here on the Global Sim Racing channel. We'll be back with the official results as well as driver interviews, and on screen between that and now, we're going to have all the upcoming races here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Welcome back to Le Mans. We just watched round 1 in the Lotus 49 Golden Anniversary World Cup here on the Global Sim Racing channel. And without the ballast to even things out between the competitors, Michel Dudignon comes back to the fore and stomps everyone with a 22-second gap in the end. Mick Claridge managed second. Of course, that was affected a little bit by Mick having some problems on the first lap. That was with Bruce Nelson, who finished way farther down. But AJ Bear was the real story. Him and Ove Trangrade had a hell of a fight there at the end. AJ came out on top, managed to get the final podium position, and Ove had to settle for fourth. But I think they were having too much fun to really worry too much about how that one worked out. Hideki Koivisto, boy, this was a very good race for him. Going to help him put 2 points on the board at the very start and gets him home in fifth. Brett Rial takes home the final points paying position in sixth. Gary Teal returns, starts in eighth, gains 1 position, finishes in seventh. He beats out Michael Langford in the Egypt liveried machine, coming home in, Langford is in the Ferrari. He's the Kiwi. Langford coming home in 8th, with Andrew Ang finishing in 9th. And then rounding out the top 10, going from 15th to 10th with a good race today, is Don Good.
All right, and finishing 11th today going to be Michael Morris, and Thomas Pruzas will finish 12th. 13th going to go to Joachim Bruckner. Craig Spitzer will finish 14th. Bruce Nelson, 15th. Marcelo Aiello, 16th. Ivan Dojo, 17th. And Franziska Shu will round out your 18 cars that started this Lotus 49 race today, Joe.
And that was Morrison who raced in the Egypt liveried machine that I was thinking of, who was in 11th. We have one of our podium finishers waiting in the wings, ready to talk to us. That is Mick Claridge, who no longer has anything weighing him down. This was on raw pace, but not quite. But Mick, it seems like you had a little bit of trouble that wasn't of your doing there on the first lap.
I don't. Yeah, how did that look from the outside? From me, it just looked like a really stupid thing to do, to sort of stop there and wait for Bruce to go sailing across the front of my car, but he didn't.
Yeah, you had quite a recovery drive to get back to the front. Were you a little bit surprised that you were able to leave the cars behind with the way the draft tends to bring together trains here?
Well, do you know, I've spent a lot of time last week trying to work on setups and stuff, and I think I found a bit of a secret in the setup. So I was pretty quick through the first few turns. So by the time I got to the straight, I normally had a little bit of a gap. So if I could just sort of try and fight and get away, I'd probably be all right. I mean, I was really happy to be, in qualifying on pace with Michel here, because this is one of his best tracks. So yeah, really happy with that.
This is going to be a straight fight, I'm assuming, unless we get another fast driver in here between you and Dudignon. What do you anticipate this season? Do you think you can get the measure of Michel over the course of a season?
Oh, I never know that. I think I'm up on him by 1 championship, in the 49. But no, you could never say you're gonna whip him. He's as you know, he's pretty fast. So yeah, no, I'm just gonna try my hardest and. Yeah, really wanted second there. I really wanted to fight for that second place there for the points.
Now, we noticed that you've changed your paint scheme for this season. You've added a Ferrari livery to the car. What's your motivation for switching that up?
I'll tell you why. I was going to run the BRM paint. Nobody seems to be running that. So I was going to run a BRM, and then I went into practice, and I saw Michael Langford there. And I said to him, "Oh, you're running a Ferrari this season." I was thinking of doing the same thing, and he said, "Oh, yeah, I'd love a teammate. 2 Ferraris would look pretty, cool on the track." So I said, "All right, I'll change the Ferrari." And that's what I did, and I did it, and I changed the suit and the helmet and everything.
Oh, fantastic! And it makes sense getting to see those Ferrari colors up towards the front here in this season. So we look forward to seeing the back and forth battle between yourself and the Frenchman. Congratulations on the second.
Hey,
Thanks, Joe.
Mick, quick question for you, buddy. I'm going to play a little word association with you. If If I say Buddy Rich, what's the first thing that comes to mind for you?
One-handed drum roll.
All right. That's what I was looking for. All right. Very good. Mick, congratulations today, man.
All right, man. See you, Sean.
Sean, of course, having fun with the music connection he has with Mick Claridge. Unfortunately, we don't have anybody else waiting to interview. I guess everybody was having too much fun out in the French countryside. Probably going to go enjoy some wine and some cheese and go celebrate after what was an eventful race out there for a number of drivers. But in the meantime, we're going to close up here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Of course, thanks to the companies that provide the software and hardware for our broadcast. You can see those listed here on your screen. Of course, thanks to Jack Ulstead and Ben Zoko, who do some organizing behind the scene to bring this championship to air. Additional thanks to Eric Ekholm and Casey Lalonde, who provide our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of their great work. And of course, thanks to the team here today on GSRC, Sean, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. Or you can check out our social media on Twitter at GSR Channel or Facebook at /Global Sim Racing Channel. Now, the next race in this series is going to be Donington. That'll be Saturday, September 23rd at 9:30 a.m. Eastern. They're going to cross the channel, go race over in England for a home race for Mick Claridge instead. But I do want to make special mention once again. A little bit later today, please tune in, if you can, at 7:45 p.m. Eastern for a charity race hosted by the Pacific Majors at Sebring in the MX-5. That's going to be an exciting one. Should put on great racing in that car at that track, we expect. And I believe we should probably have links up for how you can donate. If you're not going to be racing in that race and you want to watch and you still want to help, definitely tune in, definitely donate if you can. That's all charity going to the Salvation Army to try and help with all the damage that's happening, that happened down with the hurricanes Irma and Harvey in Texas and Florida. We also have other upcoming races for other series listed on the screen. Check those out. Mark them down on your calendar. Check those out as well. Until next time, race clean, race hard, and we'll see you on the track.